Welcome to Office Hours. I'm Steve Drost. With me, as always, Will Kaplan. Of course, Will and I are both from the Quivr team. What is Quivr? We are the CRM built by financial advisors for financial advisors, where our objective is simple. How can we help you run your business at peak efficiency? Now, each episode of Office Hours, we take a couple of cool items that came directly from our users who are trying to do just that, make their lives a little bit easier. Oh, Will, today's topic, 401k plans. A lot of our users, right, they're working with business owners, and oftentimes with business owners, they're managing 401k plans. And the thing I love about this topic is there are 78 different ways that you can manage this.
Yeah, this is a tricky one because a lot of, I think, our users, it's not their primary business. And so it's kind of just like this little, I just need to capture a little bit of information. I don't need to like fully run, like, this is all I do, or, this is half my business. This is all I do, stuff like that, where, you really have that expertise of, okay, I want to capture a lot of information. I just need a little bit of information, just a little bit,
Yeah, no, and,
just a
and
little
and
bit.
when we look at this too, there's, yeah, I mean, anybody that's ever asked me about should I put these people in their own household or the family's household or how should I do this? My rule is usually, do you have a signed client agreement or are you on the way to becoming a client? And if that's the case, then you should be a separate client. And the irony in 401k plans is a 401k plan is legally a separate client. However, I go against my word on this. So there's two ways. I'm going to explain one way, and there's pros and cons to this route. And then we'll pass it over to you and we'll let you explain the other route. But in my scenario, let's say we've got a client, and client is my real client, right? This is Jim and Pam. Let's say Jim and Pam own Dunder Mifflin. They're not just employees there. And they have a 401k plan, and I'm the advisor on the plan. Well, in this case, I look at it as like Jim and Pam, you're my clients, and the 401k plan is just simply a service that I'm offering you. So what I would do is keep all of that inside of the same household. I would actually just have Jim and Pam be the household. And if you look at the assets and liabilities module, there's a type of asset called corporate retirement plan. And that is meant to handle this 401k. So I could go in there, I could create an account, an asset, I could make it a corporate retirement plan. I could call it the Dunder Mifflin 401k plan, a profit sharing plan. And now I have that in there. I can track the balances. I can track all of that. Now, the main reason that I am going to keep the 401k plan inside of the household and go against my usual rule of separating them, even though there's two agreements, is because I would bet, at least in my own experience, that 99 out of 100 times, any communication about that 401k plan is happening when I email Jim, happening when I meet or Pam, happening when I email Jim or Pam, happening when I meet with Jim or Pam, happening when I call Jim or Pam. So I have made the decision that it's essentially impossible for me to truly sever that relationship between Jim and Pam and 401k company, 401k plan inside of Quivr. So if I can't do that perfectly, I would rather just have all emails, all meetings, all everything go under the same bucket. And then if I get audited and they ask me, how do you handle the 401k plan? I would say I handle it with normal course of business while working with Jim and Pam Halpert and when I make my, annual site visit or whatnot. And why, again, so now I'm keeping everything together. The 401k plan is an asset in the asset and liability module. When you go open that up, you'll notice there's a few different tabs inside of that asset compared to other ones. The key one is plan participants. Now, when we think of plan participants, it is not a full-blown contact. I don't usually get plan participants. I don't know. I don't care the day of plan participants reaching their full retirement age for Social Security. What I care about, and this is going to differ between people, I want their first name, I want their last name, maybe an email address, maybe a phone number. I probably need their date of birth, and I want a place to take notes. That's it. Now, of course, many users that are managing these 401k plans, that's a lead pipeline. That's a prospect pipeline, ultimately converting these plan participants into clients. And that's why you can also build this out more. You could create a custom field, prospect caliber, have, poor, average, awesome. And you could, query that, filter that, and try to go get those people to become clients. Maybe it's other partners in the business or, the C-suite or something like that. You're trying to go, work with executives, what have you. But then you could also have that rich text field, right? That just says, I met with them here. They're not interested. This. You can track them light. But if this is somebody, a user of Quivr that's doing, 20 401k plans and each of them has 20 users, I don't want 400 contacts and households in the system. I want it more isolated and I want it cleaner. So that was a lot, Will, but that's how I typically handle it. I want it all to be in the same household and I want to be able to track these people simply. Now, Will, you have a slightly different approach on this.
Yeah, so the this is the challenge of this, right? And I think this is one of the best features and most difficult features of Salesforce is there's multiple ways to deal with this stuff. Like it's not just one answer is the only way forward. And so I would do it probably in the way that you don't like, which is if it's a 401k plan, I would open up a household. I depending on the type of contact it is, so like in the Jim and Pam case, I'm gonna leave them over under their own household. But if it's just a purely a plan participant, I'd list them under the plan. Like I'm not gonna create another household just for them because I don't really interact with those people that often. And the main reason that I would do it this way is I want that formal structure of if someone doesn't know anything about this household, how are they going to find all of like, to me, having it live under one of the accounts, if someone isn't looking for that, they might not find it right away. And that might be like, I don't understand. Like, I know Jim has this plan or Pam has this plan, but I can't find where I need to go, get at this data. And so one of the main reasons that I would do it this other way is it's going to show up as a household and it's going to show up sort of in related. And that to me helps sort of standardize and create a foundation for like, how am I going to go look for this data later? How am I going to go find this? If you're in a small practice, you've got a handful of these. It is a lot of overhead. Like you're creating more records. There's extra stuff in the system. This other way, I would say maybe is a little bit for clients that specialize in this space a little bit more, have a significant number of households that are plans, or if it's like I've got a couple of business owners. They're all in the same business. That's how they found me because one of the business owners came over and said, "Oh, you got to go talk to Steve. He's the best." And then all of a sudden I've got like two owners, one plan. Where am I going to stick it? And so that, there are some cases where I think that having it as a household does give you a little bit more like structural conformity. I don't know that that's necessarily always the right answer. Obviously, I mean, there's different ways to do this, but to me, this is a great example of why office hours exist in the first place, right? Come to office hours, have this conversation. We can sort of weigh in. Steve's going to give you one perspective. I'm going to give you a different perspective. And maybe you find the answer that actually is what you need for your own business.
Because with
But
this,
yeah, this is,
this is not black or white. If somebody came to us and they have a singular 401k plan, I would tell them to just do my way. And in the household notes, make a big old thing in red text that says, "Do not forget about 401k plan." But if somebody gets onboarded to Quiver and all they do is 401k plans for business owners, I would not do my route. I would absolutely do your route. So it is one of those things where you come and you ask us, "How should I handle this 401k?" We might not necessarily have the exact same answer. There might be a lot of routes, but I can guarantee you the first thing either of us would say is, tell us more about that 401k plan. How does that 401k plan fit into your business? What are you trying to accomplish? Is this a one off or is this your bread and butter? What are you doing? Tell us about your firm because the answers to those questions are going to differ. It's no different than when a client calls you and says, "Hey, I have an extra $50,000 in my bank account." I have no idea what you're going to tell your client to do because I don't know your client. I don't know what they're saving for. What are they trying to do? And you're going to ask a couple of extra questions, just like we would ask in this situation too. But just know, I want the takeaway to be here. Know that there are a handful of ways to handle this. Quiver is absolutely equipped to do so. And once we know a little bit more about what you're doing, or maybe you understand a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish here, I think the solution will be pretty straightforward. Do you agree?
yeah, I think it's really just sort of understanding a little or having that conversation around like, okay, you've got this thing. How do you anticipate you're going to use it? And then we can probably give you some good advice on where you might want to end up.
Yep. Yep. But perfect. I mean, that's a wrap. Good stuff today. As always, if you are a Quiver user, remember, join us on Wednesdays for office hours where we're not just talking about basic blocking and tackling. How do I create a field? We're talking about real issues that advisors are seeing. And also, like selfishly, we're learning too. We're learning too. And the rising tide raises all ships. If you're not a Quiver user, that's okay. Everybody makes mistakes and nobody is perfect. But remember, it's not too late. Come schedule a demo. Come hang out with me. Come hang out with Will and come see what Quiver can do for you in your firm.